their customers. We just heard him during the last panel, and we are continuing with a presentation. My request, please be short as we are running short of time and we need to give opportunity to other speakers as well. Thank you very much to you, Dr. Sotirios.
Thank you very much, Dr. Navneet. And thanks all for bringing up the slides for my presentation. We can move on directly to the next slide. So CP holders' responsibilities towards the EDQM and also towards their customers. This will be the topic of today's presentation. We can move on to the next slide, which briefly describes the CP procedure. So what is a CP? I'm sure most of the participants of the summit are aware that it stands for Certificate of Suitability to the Monographs of the European Pharmacopoeia, and actually it is an official certificate granted by the EDQM after the assessment of the company's CP application. So the procedure is actually an international platform for the assessment of the quality of substances for pharmaceutical use, mainly, of course, active substances, APIs, with a reference excuse me, to monographs of the European Pharmacopoeia. In the frame of this procedure, coordination and conduct of GMP inspections of API manufacturers can take place. And of course, the procedure is also a source of information for the update of the European Pharmacopoeia monographs in case new information regarding either production or test methods is provided by the CP holders. The procedure is open to any manufacturer of pharmaceutical substances, regardless of the geographical origin. You will see the repartition in one of the next slides. It is legally based on these two EU directives on medicinal products, and it is not a mandatory procedure since there are other ways to provide this demonstration of compliance, such as the active substance master file. In the next slide, we can see about the use of CPs worldwide. So further to its use by manufacturers and authorities, the acceptance of authorities in Europe, an increasing number of health authorities and organizations worldwide accept CPs now. You can see a few of these countries here, with TFDA and Singapore being two of the Asian authorities that accept them. Some of the countries, of course, have published guidances on how to use CPs, always in line with their national requirements. So this global use of the CEPs also includes the signing of confidentiality agreements with these authorities, which allow sharing confidential information such as assessment and inspection reports. So in the frame of this cooperation, regular information of non-compliances with the CP procedure is provided to our partners, either GMP non-compliances or quality issues. Also, assessment or inspection reports can be shared with these authorities upon request, and any information in case of quality issues, such as the famous nitrosamines issues, is also done. On the next slide, we can see a few of the key figures regarding the use of CPs. So over 8,500 CP applications have been received so far since the beginning of the certification procedure at the EDQM for at least 1,000 different substances, all having a monograph in the European Pharmacopoeia. We receive about 300 new applications every year, most of them, of course, for chemical purity, and currently there are more than 5,600 valid CEPs, either chemical, TSC, or herbal. These CEPs are held by, or in these CEPs, more than 1,200 manufacturers are involved, coming from 50 different countries. And you can see in the chart below that just over 50% of them come from India and China, the green and red part respectively. About 60 manufacturing sites per year are covered or used to be covered by the EDQM inspection program until the breakout of the COVID-19 pandemic, split almost in half between on-site inspections and exchange of information. And in the lower right of the slide, you can see the trend in the number of new CP applications received, which is true that has been declining a bit the last couple of years, not only due to the mainly due to the COVID-19 pandemic, but of course, next to new applications for CEPs, there are also renewals and revisions for CEPs, which we keep receiving regularly. On the next slide, we will move on to the main topic of this presentation, which is the responsibilities of CEP holders. And we first start with the responsibilities towards the EDQM, which are more or less clear, as their holders need to sign several declarations when they submit a CEP application, which more or less cover all these points. So a holder of a CEP should first of all ensure that all the relevant legislation and guidelines, as they are revised or maintained, are met in their CEP application. They should declare, the holders should declare, and also the manufacturers, if they're different than the holders, which happens frequently, that they're willing to be inspected in accordance with the relevant legislation, either before or after being granted a CEP. They should maintain their applications according to the established procedures and not deviate from them. They should also provide any information that the EDQM requests during the evaluation of a CEP application. We do not accept information provided directly by third parties, such as manufacturers of starting materials of APIs. We expect that this information is provided to the CEP holder, and we accept it only when submitted by the holder. The holder should also inform the EDQM of any change to the information in the CEP application by sending an appropriate request for revision. And they should also evaluate the impact of the changes on the related CEP application whenever a monograph of the European Pharmacopoeia is updated. On the next slide, let us have a look now to the relation between the CEP holders and their customers. And who are these customers? They are mainly the marketing authorization applicants or holders or sponsors. For convenience, they're all mentioned as MAH, which are usually drug products manufacturers. So these MAHs use the CEPs in the regulatory filing at the time of the application and also during the post-authorization phase, so during the whole life cycle of a medicine. The past few years, issues related mainly to the nitrosamine contamination of drug substances and also drug products revealed that CEP holders may often lack knowledge and awareness regarding the extent of their responsibilities towards their customers. So the EDQM, in order to overcome these obstacles, has decided to provide clarity regarding the extent of the core CEP holders' responsibilities by issuing this public document, CEP holders' responsibilities towards their customers. Let us have an overview of this document by starting on the next slide. So the core responsibilities of CEP holders are specified in the commitments that they are requested to sign at the time of the submission of a CEP application, and always at the time, and also at the time when they submit a revision for a CEP. Those responsibilities are further supported by ICH Q7 EU GMP Part 2, by this EU Directive 2001/83, and also by guidances that have been issued by several national authorities, such as the TGA's Guidance 11. So the CEP holders, as part of the medicines licensing systems, actually have similar obligations to the marketing authorization holders with respect to the manufacturing activities, of course, related to the APIs, and to the information described in Part 3.2.S of the Common Technical Document. Of course, given the complexity of supply chains, it is possible, it is, let's say, allowed to delegate some of the CEP holders' responsibilities, of course, provided that the overall responsibility regarding the accuracy of the information in the CEP dossier still lies with the CEP holder. In the next slide, we can see some of the typical identified responsibilities of the CEP holder towards their customers, the marketing authorization holders. So first of them is to provide the holder with the most recent version of the CP in a timely manner. Then it's sharing pivotal information not mentioned on the CP document or its annexes, which whenever this information is needed to guarantee the quality, safety, and efficacy of the medicines or the manufacture of which the CP is used. For instance, it could be the route of synthesis of the API, details of risk evaluation for impurities performed by the CP holders, especially in case of nitrosamines or elemental impurities, for instance. Then the next responsibility that the CP holders have is to provide the necessary information to the manufacturing authorization holders in order to allow them to evaluate the impact of any change introduced by the API manufacturer or the CP holder, regardless of whether this change has led to a revision of the CP and to an update of the marketing authorization information. The quality agreements that normally should be in place should specify whether the implementation of such a change needs the pre-approval of the MAH. On the next slide, you can see some more of the typical responsibilities of the CP holders, which are the transparency in case of failures in the fulfillment of the requirements of the certification procedure, which could be quality issues, as in the nitrosamines case, or serious GMP non-compliance of the manufacturing sites involved. So the CP holders are expected to notify immediately their customers when actions were taken against their CPs, when they have been, for instance, suspended, withdrawn, or expired, together with the reasons for such actions. Such changes to the status of a CP normally have an impact on the marketing authorization applications and require immediate actions by the marketing authorization holder. Another of the obligation is to maintain data integrity. So the CP holders should assure that all data relating to the process development, the regulatory filing, the GMP activities, including, of course, the relevant marketing authorization variations, are reliable, complete, and accurate. So data integrity principles should be maintained throughout the whole life cycle of the product. In the next slide, we can see, I think it's the last point, concerning the responsibilities of CP holders against their customers, which concerns the outsourcing and technical agreements in case the CP holder is different from the API manufacturer, which happens frequently. So if an outsourced activity may affect the compliance with the CP dossier, such as the manufacture of intermediates or the testing of the API or the recovery of solvents, there should be controls in place providing assurance that the requirements of the CP procedure are complied with in all these cases. This, of course, is extended to activities concerning post-approval changes and their implementation. So a technical quality agreement would be useful to specify the respective responsibilities and the related communication processes. Of course, all arrangements for outsourced activities must be in accordance with the regulations in force, with GMP and also with the CP dossier for the product concerned, and they should be agreed by both parties. On the next slide, you can see that overall, CP holders should provide sufficient information towards the marketing authorization holders in order to enable them to fulfill their respective legal responsibilities. And last but not least, CP holders should be aware that the scope of EDQM inspections includes the verification of whether all these responsibilities towards the customers are fulfilled, are being taken into account. And this is applicable regardless of the stage of the manufacture or the supply chain of an API that is inspected. And of course, this aspect will be reinforced in the future EDQM inspections. On the next slide, you can see a few relevant references to ICHQ 7 and to other guidance or regulations that were mentioned in this presentation. The third one, for instance, is all holders' commitments as described in the CP procedure, ICHQ 12, the compilation of union procedures, and TGA's guidance 11. I'd like to thank you very much for your attention. You can move to the next and last slide. And please, if there are any questions, do not hesitate. Thank you very much.